is 6:30. Yay! Whoops. Sorry. So we do have permission to take our masks off to talk into the microphone for the students to know that. Please, wipe the mic afterwards. I'm afraid that I brought these wipes and they're not super moist, but just do your best. So there they are. And if you're using the keyboard, you want to wipe down the keyboard, that's terrific. And we're hoping to have, if you are not part of a pod, we've asked for about 2 seats in between people who are not normally spending a lot of time. And thank you all so much. We appreciate the fact that Bellarmine has let us host this in the middle of a pandemic, or hopefully at the tail end of a pandemic. And so we feel very, very lucky. So thank you for coming tonight, especially so close to the dinner hour. Hopefully everybody's gotten a bit of something to eat before coming in, and we will have an intermission where you can eat a little bit more. I just want to say that I was really thrilled when our DAT seniors decided that they wanted their capstone presentation event to be live and in person. I gave them a number of options, and this is what they chose, and I thought it was brave of them, because I do think it takes a little bit of moxie to come up here and show work that you've been really invested in for so long, and it also kind of demonstrates their sense of community and their eagerness to sort of normalize life and be part of the Bellarmine family again. So I wanted to say many thanks to Nick Dent and especially Zach Stefanski. Zach is back there, yay! For helping us to make this happen, and to Jacob Gagel, who is streaming the event for us on YouTube. So thank you, Jacob, yay! I also want to say thanks to Sean Apostle, the visionary new director of the Design, Arts, and Technology program, which, if you read Bellarmine Magazine, you'll already know, was just ranked 9th in the nation by the Bachelor's Degree Center. So congratulations, Sean. And deepest gratitude to Sue Malden, whose administrative talents keep this program running smoothly, and so many other programs throughout ANS. She is just an amazing person, so hopefully she has taken your temperature and is going to have some time to relax and join us in here. We also have a wonderful faculty teaching DAT-related courses, several of whom are here, or perhaps I know some of them are watching at home too, so hello to those of you who are at home. Maura O'Keefe, Sarah Martin, Mike LaRocco, Christopher Kincaid, Gary Fogel, Stacy Shane, Carl Barnett, Angela Miller, Todd Smith, Arthur Harder, and our DAT graduate, Shay Goodlett. And apologies to anybody that I have left off this list. We also appreciate the community members like filmmaker Stu Pollard and graphic designer Mark Cable for spending time with our seniors. Those of you who are in the class, hopefully you've signed some thank you notes for them. If you haven't done that, make sure that you do before you take off, right? And members of the Bellarmine community who have given their time this year as well. Catherine and Philip Truman, George Pasmino, Brendan Sullivan, and others. Tonight's presentation really captures the DAT program's mission to empower students to explore the ideas and technology they feel the deepest connection to. Tonight they include video, animation, illustration, photography, podcasting, graphic design, and even a game. I was really blown away when I saw the scope of work that is coming out of this group. I'll let each student introduce themselves as they come up to present. It has been a tremendous pleasure working with this group of talented young people. I know they're very excited to share their work. And up first is John Kloppeek. Thank you, John.
I didn't want to drop this on the floor, so I'm going to carefully take this out so it doesn't boom. There we go. All right. So thank you, Laura. My name is John Kloppeek, as she said, and I am a senior studying design, art, technology, and communications. I'm a double major. I'm going into law school in the fall to start on a new adventure, but today I want to start by introducing you to my capstone, the camera. Would help if I turned it on. So this sound is a lot of things for people. It is a shutter button. It is the idea of telling a story. And as cliche as it sounds, the camera is an extraordinary tool that you can use to tell a story. The story I want to tell today is one of conservation. And this is an effort in part with the Louisville Zoo, who I partnered with as a volunteer, giving them images to share the story of conservation. Now, I have a rather extensive mission statement, and I will spare you the details and all the time that it takes to read it. So I want to go over sort of the brief premise of this project, which is starting with my inspiration from wildlife photographers. So 2 names stick out to me above all in the idea, in the realm of wildlife photography. They are Joel Sartori, he's a National Geographic photographer, and Klaus Tiege from Klaus Tiege Photography. He's a freelance photographer who sadly passed away in 2019 from cancer. But both these photographers have left a legacy for me personally in the idea of conservation and getting to know animals and being able to express their essence, their importance for conservation through a lens, through that simple shutter button noise. Secondly, the purpose of this capstone is to inform the public about the animals at Louisville Zoo. We all have probably been to the zoo. We see the elephants, the tigers, and we sort of just, at least I, used to pass them by, sort of just pulling out my phone, taking a picture of them, look at that, looks cool, move on. But this project over the course of this semester has really sought to thoughtfully look at each of the animals through the lens of conservation and the idea of getting the wheels turning in our mind of what we can do by showing you the beauty, the intrinsic beauty of each of these animals. And so thus the style of the images that I've shot, as I'll go over, is to evoke emotion, is to really show you sort of these parts of the animals you might not have never seen before. Message, of course, conservation. Our world is increasingly threatening to wildlife, and in the spirit of Earth Day, which was just a mere 6 days ago, I think that this kind of is rather timely. Now, I also want to talk about briefly some of the health and physical restrictions in shooting these photos with COVID-19 and also just not being able to necessarily be right up close next to a tiger to take pictures of it. So a lot of these pictures you'll see are shot through glass, others are shot just at a far distance, and still others are shot through sort of a chicken wire fencing. Enough talk, let's see some images. So my tools, as you can guess, would be a camera, it's pretty obvious, a long lens, that is a 200 to 500 millimeter lens, an 18 to 55, a little bit of close-up, a 55 to 200, mid-distance. You're like, please spare us the technical details, John, just move on to the pictures, dude. Okay, give me a second. Got a battery camera, battery charger, SD card batteries, and this thing, which is, I sort of just added it for aesthetic, but it's to effectively place your lens against the glass and sort of reduce the glare. Now, the images that I've taken are set up in sort of styled in a way that really seeks to have the eyes facing you. It's a lot more impactful if you see these animals eye to eye. It's sort of an interpersonal communication style where we can really sort of maybe read the animal's emotions, but also see them eye to eye, quite literally. So the style of these photos you'll see, I have the lens that I use, the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. That will be consistent throughout. Now, these images are really compelling to me because of the fact that they seek to sort of make the animals look as if they're in the wild. That was one of my goals. That was hopefully one of the outcomes in this project. So the case with the eagle, I shot it very close, but you can see it looks sort of, with that lens effect, like there's a vast background behind him. Same thing with this hyacinth macaw. These are gravely endangered. They live to about an age of 79 years or 80 years or so. And this was shot quite literally just in its cage and trying to make it so you can see those beautiful feather details on him. Same thing with the puma here. You can see a classic crouching. The rhinoceros. The Amur tiger. This is one of my favorite animals to take pictures of during the zoo. And as I stated, this took place over the course of the entire semester, composing of probably about 5,000 images, all of which were shot in RAW to consistently take the most data in each image and try to process it the fullest color, the fullest lines, the fullest light, all the things that make up an image. And as you can see here, I really tried to make it look like this Amur tiger was in the sort of frozen tundra of Siberia. Now, this shot is one of my favorites. I don't know how well you can see it with the light, but he's clearly roaring directly at me. And this is one of those images where there's this clear, like, I don't really know how to describe it. There's a barrier that's broken, and you really connect with these animals in a way that I don't think you necessarily might if you're just sort of passing by casually going to the zoo. I also wanted to focus on black and white to really bring out the full details, especially in the elephants. This is the mother of Fitz. She is a African elephant, and you can see that all of the lines on her skin and on her trunk really bring out those details if you take away the color, which is often, I've found, sort of a distraction in photography. And this is a picture of Fitz. You've probably seen him on social media here and there. He's very famous. I don't know how old he is, but he's growing quickly, I'll tell you that, over the course that I've seen him throughout the semester. Another shot of his mother here in black and white. And as far as the gorilla and ape exhibit, I wanted to try to capture sort of a pondering look. So you can see with this particular gorilla, she is sort of glaring off into the distance, not really sure what she's thinking about, maybe it's food or something, but really sort of capture like some playful moments too, where she's sort of winking, or maybe just blinking because of the sunlight. Here's another shot of, I think this is a baby gorilla adolescent eating. Now, one of the other things that I should mention is that these photos, their message is the conservation, because you see these images, you may not necessarily think they were shot in a zoo. They almost look like they're shot in the wild. And so giving these to the Louisville Zoo is in hopes that they will, and as they already have, use them to promote that conservation, to continually show people the beauty that literally resides in our own city and across our world. Zebras are one of my favorite, and I had to include this picture. Here's another one. And I rarely shoot in portrait, but I found this shot just especially dynamic and compelling with all the lines and the symmetry, mesmerizing stripes. Another shot of Fitz here playing. And the polar bear. So, depending on how much you know about photography, it's really difficult to shoot bright objects because your camera gets overexposed or it just gets bleached out. And it's more difficult to shoot something that is white and moving because you have to constantly follow it. And still more, it is more difficult to not only shoot something that is white and moving, but also doesn't want its picture taken. And that is the case of Canuck, the polar bear from Alaska who was shipped via UPS to the Louisville Zoo very safely. And it was sort of she's hilarious. Pictures can't really do it justice, the personality that this bear has. But out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures I took, I really only deemed one fitting for this presentation, and that's this one right here. Now, in addition to focusing on the eyes and keeping that eye contact, I also focused on the textures. And with the textures, I've done that with the leopard, with the elephant trunk, with the elephant feet, zebra stripes, and Fitz eating. And so, in the interest of time, I'm going to speed it up a little bit and show you just some of the final favorite images, particularly that of the predatory cats. So you can see the leopard here had to shoot through some fencing in order to achieve sort of a natural look. The same with the tiger, the Amur tiger, as I showed earlier, roaring. This is one of my favorite shots. This is Senyata. He's a 6-year-old African lion, just bathing in the glory of the sun. The snow leopard, 3 of which are at the Louisville Zoo. The lioness, and a closing shot of Senyata. And so I took, this is just sort of a little bit of a summary of some of the work I've done, but I made this little collage that I'm soon giving to the zoo. Hopefully they can post it or maybe use it in some of their promotional content. And so as I wrap up, the end goal is that conservation. It's fun to look at pictures of animals. It's even more fun to shoot the pictures of the animals. But we have to remember that we are called to be good stewards of the earth. And not only do that, but also to tell people, to share it. And so if you want, this is a little bit of self-promotion, but I have a little bit of an ongoing collection that's going on Flickr that you can see. I'm going to be updating this regularly as I give images to the zoo. And in closing, I just want to give a special thanks to the following: to the Louisville Zoo for letting me collaborate with them on this project. They were very gracious in doing that. For Laura Hartford, who has taught us throughout this course and provided really valuable feedback in just constructing this project. To Sarah Martin, one of the professors that initially got my passion of photography rolling in the first place. To Sean Apostle, who is my academic advisor and has just been such an inspiration and constant support. To Brendan Sullivan for his feedback. Murphy's Camera for letting me rent that massive lens I showed you earlier. And for my mom and dad. They really showed me a lot of moral support that was unparalleled throughout all of this, and especially this trying semester. Thank you.
Hello. Do I have to turn it on? Oh, hello. Awesome. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Let me just set this up here. Alrighty. Hi, everybody. My name is Lillian Gordon, and for my capstone, I made a 20-minute podcast about anti-Vietnam War music of the 1960s and the 1970s. So the reason I decided to do this as my capstone was, one, I took a broadcast writing class last semester, and for our final, we had to do like a short mini podcast just about a story, and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to do it at just a much larger scale just to challenge myself. And also, secondly, I just really love music. I'm very passionate about it. I come from a family who is also very passionate about it, so it's something that I knew I would always be interested in throughout the rest of this semester, but also something I just really enjoy talking about and learning about. So as a whole, my podcast kind of consists of listening to the songs, but also some cultural context as to what's going on in Vietnam, what's also going on in America during these times, and it kind of spans from about 1965 to 1971. So cultural context, things just like the Tet Offensive, the growing number of troops being drafted, Paris Peace Accords being signed, things like that. So with that being said, I did do, like I said, like a 20-minute podcast, so I only have about like an 8-minute snippet for you all. And just to preface, I don't own any of the rights to these songs listed. They're just for educational purposes. So with that being said, I'll pull it up. Hopefully it works.
Wow, you can actually hear me. Good to know. So my name is AJ Jones. I am a junior here of DAT and Communications, and I am here to show you an artistic style that is to talk about the divide of several different dimensions, so it might get a little trippy, just fair warning. So the concept that we're going to be talking about here today is that there are a couple divides in our world. There's the two-dimensional world and the three-dimensional world, as well as the natural and the digital. So what do I mean by this? When you look at this, you see a triangle. Pretty straightforward, pretty flat, two-dimensional. We all know how it works. But on the right, we see three-dimensional, and we see a pyramid. Now, a lot of my projects have been photography. I also do graphic design. And what's interesting is that photography captures 3D and puts it into a 2D format. When you think about it, our eyes are looking at it and we're like, oh, yeah, that is a 3D object and I'm holding it in the size of a paper. Kind of trippy in that way when you think about it. But also, I'm going to be talking about the physical realm because while I can touch this table right here, I cannot touch that word up there. And that's very important because my technique that I typically stylize in, this here is my Silver Key Scholastic Award that I won several years ago. And it focuses on only triangles, similar to what you saw a couple slides ago. And I call it one of the basic shapes of the world. As we know, there are triangles, there are squares, and there are circles. Pretty straightforward. But triangles make up squares and circles. Divide a square in half, down the diagonal, you got a triangle. And you can infinitely get several pies from a circle. I would love infinite pie slices, to be honest. But also, it connects with each vertice, each point, kind of like how we're all connected as we are here together today or at home. We are both physical and digital as we are right now. So a lot of my projects, these images I'm going to be showing you soon, trust me, we'll get there. This here is Floyd Fork Parklands, Louisville's biggest park conservatory in Louisville right now, and a very important one at that. For me, when COVID-19 hit last year, it was kind of hard. I used to socialize, be on campus, see my teachers face to face. And so when that hit, it was kind of sad. I was lonely, but being able to go outside and walk with distance, social distancing, because it is a huge conservatory, miles long, part of our Louisville Loop system, it kind of gave me a breather. It gave me a place to get away from all the problems of the world. It's also atmospheric, whether it's raining or in sunshine, though I prefer being in the sun than downpouring rain as we experienced earlier. But it's also unique to Louisville because of this guy. You may or may not know him, Frederick Law Olmsted. He is a famous architect known to make the New York City Park, and he came here to this little city that Bellarmine resides in. And he created a full-on park system, 17 different parks connected together all across Louisville, making use of our natural landscape. That is something that not many cities in the world can even claim. Floyd's Fork is not part of his. However, they are trying to bring the new generation from his work. And I think that is very inspirational because it shows that one man does not make the whole world, but we can continue based on his own work. And based on his work and based on Floyd's Fork, I made different images using triangles, trying to explain the dimensions of 2D and 3D, because you're looking at a 2D image, but it was done in 3D. Every single triangle was made by hand in Adobe Illustrator, every single point, hundreds upon hundreds of hours and of points. It disintegrates from colors to red, from grayscale into color, because that's kind of how the world is sometimes. It's not always black and white. It's not always straightforward. And it's just kind of funky in that its own little world. This one is a full black and white photo that can be found in Turkey Run. This is on top of a silo and a path that I actually used to walk on. Every single one of these photos was taken not with a camera, but with a single phone, something that each one of us can do. I don't need any fancy technology to do something really cool. But as our roads become connected, they also break apart, become unpredictable. And that's what these triangles kind of show, is that it becomes connected. It makes sense at first, but then things get more chaotic, kind of like the pandemic. We think that we have it all together, but then we realize, oh boy, we don't. And that is partially a connection to our own digital and media, because it's the natural world, but I had to work in digital media for so long just to get the result that I have. This one right here is just a cliff with grass and a sky, but you wouldn't know it because I flipped all the colors. And what's even more unique is that I used a RG. I focused on red-green color blindness because I know several friends have done color blindness, and I wanted to make this an homage because to them, their own realm is a little bit different from mine. I can see tons of colors just fine, but somehow it's a little bit different for them, and I wanted to let them know that they can still see beauty. They can still see the clouds. They can still see the earth. They can still see so much, even if our realms are a little bit broken. This one is one that is also found in Lake Turkey Run into Broad Run Parkland, one of the southernmost parts of Floyd's Fork Parklands. And this right here was actually next to an overview, but I didn't take a picture of the sky. I took a picture of the trail because I found it as a pathway that I wanted to take, a decision. It was something I wanted to understand. Each triangle, each little rock, I stepped over every single one of those on purpose. I walked there, but it's here with me. So how is that possible? Because it's digital, but for me, it's also physical. I've walked many miles in Converse to know about that. This one's supposed to be a little bit of a crazy one. It's supposed to be weirdly colorful. Trees are not made to be blue, I'll let you know that. And that's an homage to video games, because I've known several video games that made their trees blue to make them stand out. And I really enjoyed that sort of aesthetic and wanted to implement that because that's just how trees are sometimes. They sometimes are blue in the digital realm. But I get to make fun of the natural realm and be like, hey, you're born in brown. I get to make you blue now. And I thought that was really fun. I get to mess around with the universe a little bit in my own way because of that. And I think that's a unique thing when I messed with photography and graphic design, because I walk on every single path. I was here a couple weeks ago, actually, to do this photograph, and while it looks like nighttime, this was actually done in broad daylight. And now it looks like a nightscape. Every little flower looks like a tiny little light. And to me, I walked there. I did not expect it to be nightlight when I got to work with this. When I worked in the 2D media, I was not expecting to transform every bit of the 3D realm with me. I didn't expect my physical world to become digital as it is today. But you know what? I'm okay with that. Because even though our realms are mixing together, I think it's okay. Because while we are still changing in this ever pandemic, I think it's okay that our realms mix just a little bit more. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ross Corbett, and this is...
And I
Imagine a blocky world.
Yes, that is also me. I'm Patrick Volstead, and what we've created for you is a documentary about online gaming communities.
We hope you enjoy.
Imagine a blocky world full of animals and monsters where you can mine and build and really do anything you want. And the best part is you can do it with your friends. That's what Minecraft is.
I just like how easy it is to pick up. You don't really have to do anything specific. You can play the way you want to play. And if you don't enjoy one aspect of the game, you can do something else. And that makes it really easy to find friends to play with and make the multiplayer experience that much more enjoyable.
Like in real life, I would never build one. Like I probably would never build my own house. But on here, I can do that. And I can do it and defy gravity at the same time and just hang out with friends and have fun.
There's never a dull moment. You can log in and just have something to do. It can just be there. It can be a source of comfort for some people. It's a way to hang out with people without having to actually be with people.
Minecraft very quickly became a game about communities, or as they're called, in-game servers. I've invited so many people to play as a community, and some of them I've met in person, some of them I've met only online, but all of them I consider to be my friends. What we have today is a wonderful community. There's a very wide variety of people on the server I play with, from all ages. We have Reed, the man from Texas who I met on another online server.
Was back on a server called Powercraft is where I met Patrick, and basically just from there our friendship stemmed. And then he was like one day, hey, I'm starting up my own server, do you want to join?
We have Brendan, my close friend since middle school, who I have been playing with since.
I've been involved with this community since 8th grade when you invited me to join. We were just in a little computer class and just played Minecraft from time to time.
And we have who we call Crazy because that's her in-game name. Someone I met about 7 years ago online. We call her the mother of the server.
When I first started playing Minecraft, I was playing just in creative, just trying to learn the game. And then I was like, I want to play with other people, and I wanted to start YouTube.
I decided to start my server, Vikingcraft, as I called it, back in middle school, about 8 years ago at this point. We were about to graduate, and I wanted a way to keep up with my friends over the summer. Minecraft is the perfect opportunity to do that. And some of the friends who I had met online, who I had kept in contact with, also joined, and we started building up a community.
Yeah, I invited some of my friends from middle school at the time, and it just we all got to know each other, become good friends.
People on the server, we have people who live across the country, we have people who live in other countries, and if you couldn't talk to them in any way, you wouldn't be able to play with those kinds of people. You would probably ever meet them or know they even existed.
A few years ago, we got this wonderful opportunity where some of the people I met online, who are all from Texas, were able to fly down to Kentucky for a week.
Yeah, we met in person. It was me, my friend Micah. We went to Kentucky, and we met Patrick. It was a really fun time, honestly.
And it was the first time we had actually met in person. What started 8 years ago as online friends turned into friends that I've met in person.
Cliche, but I like community, the sense of community. Like nobody's judging somebody based on how they look, what their skin color is. Like none of that matters in an online community. You're just people. People will see you for who you are, who you present yourself as in that game.
When you're playing with people online, normally you're like in the privacy of your own home, in your room, doing your own thing, and you can be more free to be yourself, and I really enjoy that aspect of online play.
If I'm having a bad day and I just want to sit back, unwind, but I want to actually talk with other people, I can do that at any time, from anywhere.
But the fact that I play with you guys online and talk to you guys online, I still get that person-to-person interaction without putting myself in a super stressful situation. Like if I want to be sitting on my couch, bundled up with a blanket on and playing the game, I can be, and nobody's going to judge me because there ain't nobody there to see me.
Wait, is PK doing the video thing?
Yes.
blow up.
Welcome to season 9. There's a
Pinocchio
world
got my
border.
blow
It's
up.
survival. Go have fun. Oh, wait.
Really?
Can you refill our health first?
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
That's how this works.
Unfortunately, just like in the real world, there's always hatred out there. You might say that online that's even more prevalent just because it's easy for someone to hide behind a screen. Luckily in our community, that's not really an issue, but there's definitely certain communities out there where that's an issue, and there's just no way to get rid of that completely online.
A lot of people are toxic with games and can be pretty toxic. And that's like one thing I don't like is how people are like just so mean to each other. People act so much different online than they do in real life. Even me, like I act different.
You can't let that discourage you. You just have to keep looking. And if you run into one negative experience online, then you're going to run into 3 times the number of heartwarming stories.
People who I barely would talk to in middle school and high school are now they're like some of my closest friends because I have been able to play with them even if I'm not with them in person.
It's strengthened a lot of my friendships. I would not be as good as friends with them if it wasn't for gaming. Like my first friend that I made in middle school when I moved towns, it was because of Minecraft, honestly.
I refer to everybody on Viking Craft. I just tell them that you're my kids. I'm like, okay, I gotta go play games with my kids.
Without my friends online, without a lot of the people who I've met through Minecraft, I would not be the person I am today. It's helped me get through a lot of tough times in my life.
Secrets of out one hole. Because I mean, it's projectile. Go on, at least try after.
Oh my god.
Did you? No, you were so much. Go on, P, you behind you. Run, move, P, move.
Back in the early 2010s, there was big pushes against video games because I think that was back around the time that Call of Duty games, some of the bigger ones, were starting to get a little bit more popular. And so people were always worried about these huge links between violence and video games.
I know, like, especially my parents, whenever I told them I was going to see friends in Kentucky, I had to basically lie and tell them that they were old friends from school. Because whenever the internet first started becoming popular, people saw it as a bad thing. It was like, whoa, anyone can be on the internet. You got to watch out.
I think the social stigma around people who play video games a lot has been negative for a while. And I think it's just something that comes with a generational misunderstanding. Most people think when you're playing games, you're just sitting back, being lazy, not doing anything productive.
The internet is still so new, and there's still so many people that weren't raised with it and didn't literally grow with the internet. They don't understand how you can be friends with somebody that you've never met, but they also are generally unwilling to give online communities a chance. And I think that everybody should, really, because you can find some of your best friends online.
Recently, I haven't really seen that as being a big of an issue. It's had a positive change in the past few years.
I think over the recent years, gaming has gotten a lot more socially acceptable just because how popular it's gotten. At least try it out first before you just start to judge. Because I've met some pretty amazing people just based off of the server, and honestly, my life would be so much different if it wasn't for this server and this game alone. My life would just be a lot different and probably would be a lot worse if it wasn't for this.
For anything that you have an interest in, I promise you there are other people out there who have that same interest. You just have to ignore the negativity that is often portrayed, because that's not what most gamers are like.
Give online communities a chance. They might surprise you.
Not every day you see a community like this where everyone's good friends and it's been going on for this long. A lot of communities of Minecraft just die off quickly, but this one, we've been going on strong for several years, and I'm sure we'll keep going.
When I think back on these 8 or 9 years that we've been friends with each other, I could not be prouder of the group we've become. And as the sun dawns on one day, we will continue into the next, one of the strongest groups of friends I've ever seen. And it's all possible through the power of online communities.
All right. Thank you all for watching.
Hi, I'm Emily Bahan. Can you hear me? Oh. I'm Emily Bahan, and I'm going to show you the new American icon. So for my DAT project, I created a series of 6 digital illustrations in Adobe Photoshop. Each illustration is a composite of famous American attractions along with well-known logos and icons from the largest corporations in America. Each company produces non-essential goods and provides recreational activities or services, so they're basically non-essential companies. My goal is to show how large consumerism has become in America and how we have idolized all these different icons. So for my project, I did a lot of research around consumerism in America. The American consumer market consists of about 29% of the world consumer market, with the second largest consumer market only comprising 8% of the world market, making America by far the largest consumer market in the world, which is why my focus is on America. So consumerism is mostly fueled by advertising and credit cards, which is very popular over here in America. And it's very easy to get access to. You see it everywhere. And this can lead to many problems, including unmanageable debt, and it can lead to pollution, which I don't get to focus as much on in this project, unfortunately. But pollution has become a big issue because of consumerism, because of these mass production of goods and disposability of all these consumer goods, because that's what they're made for. They're made to just be getting rid of, thrown away. That's why they are so popular. You can just buy new stuff all the time. So my process for picking out which logos and icons to use, I came up with all these lists of like the largest companies in America, and I've also highlighted the ones that I did use in this project. So this is a list of the top 50 companies in America. So on this list I used Amazon, Coca-Cola, Disney, McDonald's, and Starbucks, which I'll get to in a moment. And then I also compared that with lists of the most recognizable logos in the USA to kind of further push this idea of how these icons have become so popular here that we just immediately recognize them. And then when I went to go pick out what I was going to mix them with and combine them with, I looked at the top 25 most visited places in the USA, which is a series of different landmarks, attractions, different tourist spots. And so I included the Statue of Liberty, the Liberty Bell, Gateway Arch, Golden Gate Bridge, and Hollywood Sign, and Mount Rushmore. So my original plan for this, I started out in Adobe Illustrator, and this was an image that I happened to find. About halfway through the semester, though, my hard drive got wiped, and I lost everything, and this is all I have left. I just happened to find a screenshot that I had in the chat when I was doing a feedback session. So I started out with the Statue of Liberty and Coca-Cola. And I started out with Adobe Illustrator, and it ended up being really difficult. It took a long time, which is why I ended up switching to Photoshop. So it ended up working out better for me. I got to do more research. I got to reevaluate my entire project as a whole. And originally I wanted them to be poster size, and I was going to show more about like negative impacts of these companies, such as like pollution and all these negative health impacts from different fast food companies. But because of time-wise, I had like half a semester left. I kind of had to cut it down and find a way to get as much done with the given time I had, which led me to the idea of postcards to kind of still push this idea of how mass-produced these different companies have become. So each image that I produce is like, they're 5x7 or 7x5, depending on the orientation. They're actually a little bit larger than that for printing purposes, but to keep it simple, it's 5x7. And I did this because they're so cheap to produce, and I can print multiple at a time, which kind of pushes the idea of like the mass production, distribution, recreation, and disposability of like these different companies and their products. So the first one that I fully got done, it was the Hollywood sign and YouTube. This is I think this is the only one that I didn't go through very many changes. I got it done, knocked it out, and then I was done with it. I was happy with it. So, and then this is kind of how I set up all my project. I have pages and pages of notes based on every single one, but I just kind of like narrowed it down, kind of like looked at my list, where they were at on this list, and I also put the images together, like how it would look on the front and how it would look on the back. So this next one, Taco Bell and Liberty Bell, Taco Bell wasn't on any of the lists I looked at, but I got inspired by this old project that I did. And it was a similar concept, but it was like paintings and sculptures, and it was focused more on fast food rather than just companies as a whole. So that's how I got inspired for this one. Except instead of incorporating the Liberty Bell into the Taco Bell logo, I switched it around, incorporated Taco Bell into the Liberty Bell setting. And then the next one is the Golden Gate Bridge and Amazon logo. And this one did go through a few changes. Originally, my idea was to have the logo black to match more the black lines on the Golden Gate Bridge. But playing around with color, I ended up sticking closer to the original color of the Amazon logo. I thought aesthetically it looked better, and it really made that logo pop more recognizable. And then this is the new and improved Statue of Liberty using, instead of Illustrator, I redid it in Photoshop. This one was actually one of the harder ones. I played around a lot with this one. So originally, it didn't have hands. I was really iffy about it. I originally decided to use cloth as the hands because there was no human form, so I thought it would look a little weird. But after a lot of feedback, I ended up switching over and putting in hands. And then I also added like a lot more shadow around to really make that bottle pop out. And then I got McDonald's arches in place of the St. Louis arches. And this one also went through a lot of changes. So originally it was more of a gray, trying to really capture that color of the St. Louis arches. But then I decided, like, you gotta have golden McDonald's arches. And then I had a hard time trying to figure out like the actual shape of the St. Louis arches because it's more of a very flat object. It's three-dimensional, but it's a very flat figure. So originally I made it more rounded until Laura pointed out that it wasn't a rounded structure like I originally thought. So I played around a lot with that and the color. And then this is my final one, and it was probably the most challenging one. So I got KFC, Playboy, Starbucks, and Mickey Mouse as Mount Rushmore. And this one was really difficult, trying to make two-dimensional objects into three-dimensional objects without using any color. And I've never really drawn rocks before, so it was a very interesting experiment. And I really enjoyed doing this one, and just trying to experiment around with different shading and really getting to know Photoshop and all the different brush tools. And also how I planned on displaying these, I have it right up here. So I planned on displaying them in like these clear frames so you can see both the front and back. Or you can just leave them out or send them out, whatever you want to do with them. I got multiples of them, so they can really be used for whatever purpose. But if anybody here in person wants to see a closer look up, I have 4 over there in the gallery. If you go out the back doors and go to the left, the gallery is over there. And I have 4 in there if you want to get a closer look. And now we're going to take a 10-minute intermission. So if anybody would like to check out the gallery or get snacks, thank you.
part 2. Vicki Lynn has had some technical difficulties, so I don't believe that she's going to be presenting today, so we only have 4 more presentations to go. And we will hopefully still have some food out there afterwards, so please continue to eat that and take some home if there's leftovers. Our first person up for the second half is Madison Montgomery, who actually is the first person in the DAT program to create a game for her Capstone project, so we're very excited to see it. Sorry. Became unsigned. There you go. Okay. Applause again, yes.
Hello, my name is Madison Montgomery, and I'm a junior here at Bellarmine. And whenever I first started this capstone, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I was interested in interactive media, but I wasn't sure to where to start. And after having some conversations with Laura, she came across the idea. She was like, "Why don't you just build a game?" So I did. So behind my game, what I decided to go with as a theme is terms of service. I'm super interested in the genre of horror, and especially some games that I brought some inspiration from are Soma and some other ones such as, sorry, I got nervous, but just some general horror ones. So I decided that terms of service would be interesting to do because a lot of people don't understand the realms of like how much privacy you're losing from terms of service. And so in this, I kind of made a game showing sort of an exaggerated tale of what could happen if you accept terms of service without reading it. In this one, you accept your terms of service because you're lost in the woods and you need a map so you can get home. And so after you accept the terms of service, you give away your location of where you are to anyone nearby, including a nearby monster you were unaware of. And so you just got to find your way to your car while the monster is chasing you. So I'll go ahead and do a playthrough of it. Sorry, the mouse froze. All right, let's do it one more time and see if we could win. I'll do a quick shortcut. So yeah, it's a really simple game. I spent a lot of time Googling how to do everything. For this project, I learned a new program called Unity, which is a game development program. And I taught myself how to pretty much do everything. And I'm pretty excited with how this turned out for my very first game. Thank you.
All right, can everybody hear me? Is that really loud? Sorry. Is this okay here? Okay. So my name is Leah Wilkinson, and I'm a senior. And ever since I can remember, I have been very in love with animals. So I'm the type of person, like on a day like today, you will find me walking around campus, picking up worms. I'm very interesting like that. I love animals, and if I could do that with any type of animal, I definitely would. And basically, I knew from the beginning I wanted my capstone project to have something to do with animals and have an impact in a way that is more than just a project that I make that's for a class, but something that could be utilized by people around this, well, in this case, around this part of the country. But anyway, so I wanted to make something that would really impact many animals and their owners. And so I have experience in both graphic design and journalism, and I also really enjoy taking photographs. And so I thought, well, it might be good to do a website and include all of those things. And thanks to the helpful guidance of Laura Hartford and Sean Apostle, who is sitting back there, hello, Sean, I went ahead and made a website, and the initial idea for this site was keepyourcovidpet.org, because a lot of people during COVID have adopted animals. Mainly, you know, if you are at home more and you just want a little bit of a change, maybe you'd like to get an animal. So basically, statistics in that area have really skyrocketed recently. And then I realized it might be good to have a site that's a bit more general and a bit more timeless, so that when we hopefully move past COVID, we can kind of keep moving in the right direction. And so this website, I'm going to move and just talk a little bit about the website, encourages people to consider the responsibility and dedication that goes along with adopting a pet. So in the COVID-19 era, people have adopted animals at much higher rates. According to USA Today, measuring from the spike of COVID in mid-March to mid-August of 2020, dog adoptions in particular have skyrocketed at a rate that's up 202% from that same time period in previous years. And this aims to educate, so this website also aims to educate those considering adopting, and it also encourages those who've adopted animals to really think before getting rid of their pets when they decide for whatever reason they no longer want the animal. So they can no longer care for the animal, maybe they don't have as much time, things of that nature. Maybe they don't have the money to take care of an animal, things like that. So all pictures and text within this website were taken and written by me unless otherwise noted. And my work also aims to draw attention to shelter animals who've been returned to shelters. So by creating an unembellished website, I wanted animals to be the focal point of every page. And by having tabs unique to various needs, the website accommodates all who visit while also maintaining an organized layout. And visitors are encouraged to utilize resources and directories provided within the site to meet whatever needs they may have when they go to the website. So anyway, now I'm going to show you all the website. All right, so this is what this website looks like. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so you can see a little bit more. All right. So this is what the homepage is like, and basically this is a little slideshow here, and every tab within the slideshow has this same theme of everyday animals like me end up in shelters. And these are all animals who, well, with the exception of one, they are all rescues or in the process. So like some of these are animals who are currently at a humane association in Clark County, Indiana, and others, like this is my personal cat here, but he was a rescue, so really wanted to stay true to what this site is about. Anyway, so this is the homepage. And then you scroll down, we have a little bit about who we are and what we do, so we being Kentuckiana Pet Protection Site. So we are a one-stop website created for those who may be considering adopting, keeping, or saying goodbye to their animals. And then down here, we just have a note to our visitors, and this is at the bottom of every page, just like a super easy access way to find this statement, which is just a little bit more about our website and a little bit more about what you might find on different pages. So we have some links to different resources within the site, and I'm just going to take you all to those up here because that's probably the most straightforward way to do that. But anyway, so for instance, we have success stories. So if we wanted to click on a particular story, we could click on one or the other. For the sake of this, we'll go to Catherine Truman, who's here tonight. This is her story. So she has a cat. She and her husband have a cat, and she is highly allergic to cats. So this is a bit of a story that can be very inspiring and encouraging to people who are allergic to animals but still want to have animals. So here's this story. And then we have another story. So this is another dear friend of mine, and this is her story of her experiences with different animals she's had and what she's gone through to get those animals, and how there have been some hurdles to overcome, but how she ultimately decided to get the animals and make it work with the animals. And here's another note to our visitors. So again, this is the same note. This is just at the bottom of every page is a little footer, easy access. And then up here, got some resources. So this is a very timely one. As I said, with the theme of the site originally being focused on COVID, I wanted to have this COVID, this non-COVID lifestyle and that like transition back into what we hope will be a non-COVID lifestyle soon, as like the main thing on this page for right now to kind of keep with the timeliness of it. So transitioning back into a non-COVID lifestyle with your pet, and did some research there, wrote a little bit about it. Then down here, we have a conversation with Elizabeth Stark of Southern Indiana Animal Rescue. So I was fortunate enough to speak with her, and she was also a big reason for my changing the name of the site, because she was really interested when we talked about this and using this as a tool and referring people she comes across to this site, and I thought that was really cool. And it kind of brought things full circle because I wanted this to be a real thing. And so I'm happy to announce that this is a real site right now, and it's live and out there for people to use. But anyway, so this is just a conversation with her, and it's about different animals and her experiences she's had, mainly with cats and dogs in local shelters, and kind of what this nonprofit does for those animals. And then finally, how to find what animal's right and not right for you. So Elizabeth talked a lot about how some people will just bring animals back. They didn't realize initially that it just wasn't gonna work out. And so mainly this is about how to find the correct animal, and kind of knowing ahead of time before adopting an animal and making that decision, what to look for. And again, note to your visitors. And then finally, on this last page, you have a directory of local humane associations or shelters where people can take their animals so they can safely live healthy lives away from the home that they were in. So, sometimes things just don't work out, and we want to make sure that the animals are in a safe place when they are taken to a shelter or elsewhere. So here again these are all animals from the local humane association in Clark County. And then we have the directory of more local humane associations or shelters. Again, the note to our visitors. And that is my capstone. Thank you all.
You all able to hear me? Hi. Oh. My name's Scott Baird. I'm a major nerd for anyone that knows me personally. And you all are going to sit here and watch me geek out for a few minutes. So starting off, I chose to do a graphic novel adaptation of Beowulf. So for people that don't know, Beowulf is one of the oldest stories in the English language. Primary reason I chose it. It is heavily related to a combination of Norse and English and Christian themes. So it's a very weird kind of amalgamation in that way, and it makes it real interesting to look at. When I was making this, one of the things that drew me to it was the fact that I had a bunch of friends in high school. We were required to read it, and I remember getting really into it, but no one else was. And part of that was the story's kind of inaccessible for people that want to read it. It's very kind of wordy, and it's somewhat hard to put together. So I developed this in order to, assist people with getting more interested in this story. So starting off with how I designed it, Beowulf, I decided to take the first third of the poem, which is going to be Beowulf versus a monster called Grendel. And of that, I had an introduction where it described what happened before Beowulf shows up. I chose to relate this back to bas-reliefs, which are, in my opinion, one of the more ancient forms of combining words and images in order to create a story. In that way, I kind of see them as almost like an ancient comic, and I felt like I should pay tribute to that, including the age of the story itself. So I've kind of chosen to do the initial part of it in the style of kind of these dramatic bas-reliefs. There's several themes throughout these bas-reliefs. One of the first initial ones that will constantly reappear throughout the story is Christianity. A specific tone of Christianity I really focused in on the initial first 4 pages was the idea that there's the Trinity. So the book begins with this king called Hrothgar. He's the good king. He basically goes to war, gets a bunch of money, takes it back to his people, and builds up this grand hall called Herod, pictured right there. And they party it up until this demon called Grendel shows up and takes control. So when I designed this, I wanted to make the initial themes of Christianity with the Trinity right here, being Hrothgar kind of stretching down from his throne, creating this triangle, and inversing it when Grendel, this demon, kind of takes control. So that leads me on pages 1 through 4, which are heavily based on bas-relief, except maybe page 4, or page 3. So, as I said, Hrothgar begins the book kind of like taking control, using his army to build Herod. It's then revealed that the partying they do in Herod manages to attract Grendel there. Grendel is the spawn of Cain, specifically. He's viewed as this demon that is a descendant of the first murder, which is what you can see in the reflection there. Also, I used the moon as a common motif around Grendel as a reverse halo. And here we have Grendel kind of doing the reversal of the first page where Hrothgar's in charge. It's kind of like this holy alignment in the first page. And the reversal of it on the 4th page where Grendel's in charge. Now it's a reverse trinity, and now it's this evil kind of, an evil turn from what the first page was. So Beowulf is kind of interesting in the fact that he is, like I said, a combination of this ancient Norse hero and this ancient Christian hero. So he's very classic in the manner that he's a super strong hero, he's almost indestructible, and he's from a royal bloodline. Essentially all your classic kind of, oh, he's descended from heroes, he's descended from ancients, he's the chosen one, essentially. He fights for wealth and glory, and that's a common admirable trait amongst the Norse characters that he was, or the Norse culture he kind of originally hailed from. Where this kind of gets strange is the fact that Beowulf was preserved by monks. That's the only way we actually recovered it, was that it was written down by monks initially, and because of that, it's heavily influenced by Christianity. So Beowulf actually has a lot of Christian themes going on in it, as I said before, and it creates a weird dichotomy between these two cultures kind of clashing into each other in this one character. So, going through pages 5 through 8, we have the initial kind of description of Beowulf being summoned by a messenger far and wide after Hrothgar kind of starts telling everyone, you know, find me a hero to kill Grendel. So we have Beowulf kind of seeing the challenge here and coming in on his boat to the shore. Beowulf's then questioned by the guard on the shore and is taken to Herod because everyone instantly loves Beowulf because that's how old poems work. So going further with that, we then have my more technical analysis of the monster, which is Grendel in this case. So Grendel, as I said, was kind of the spawn of Cain and is this shadowy, like disgusting devil spawn that wanders around the moors. As a result, he's basically like the anti-Beowulf. He's never fully described in the book, actually appearance-wise, which gives a lot of room for artistic interpretation. In this case, I chose to design Grendel based off several symbols of demons and evil in Christianity, mainly a bat, a goat, and just a general bestial form. So, going forward, we then have the introduction of Herod. Beowulf shows up, the halo motif of the sun around him, because he's God's chosen warrior, according to the book. Then we're introduced to Hrothgar. Hrothgar at this point is an old man, his throne's kind of fallen apart, everyone's abandoning him, you know, his kingdom's in ruins. Beowulf proceeds to go up to Hrothgar and tell him basically his whole resume of monster slain, giant slain, serpent slain, and goes on to tell him, you know, I'm here to fight Grendel now. The page on the far end, the last one, is actually designed to look like a bit of a boxing poster, as I'll get into in Beowulf's design. So when I was designing Beowulf, there were several bits of inspiration that went into him. One of the big ones was this idea of grappling. So Beowulf wrestles Grendel in this book, and that's how he ends up defeating him. This is rooted in several different cultures. One of the primary, most well-known ones would be Judeo-Christianity, where Jacob, I believe, fights an angel in order to gain God's favor. So Beowulf, I designed him around this idea that he would have like this wrestling belt almost. It looks a little strange, but at the same time, I thought it was very fitting. It seemed to evoke this attitude of a wrestler, this guy that grapples with his enemies. So, pages 13 through 16, this is where things start heating up. Hrothgar kind of goes up to Beowulf and tells him, you know, we're gonna have a party. And Beowulf basically decides that he's gonna strip naked because Grendel doesn't fight with any weapons or armor, so why should Beowulf? So Beowulf and his buddies have a party in Herod, which is what attracts Grendel, and Grendel shows up. Now Grendel, because he's the spawn of the devil, starts killing people in their sleep. It describes how he rips a guy in half, and then he drinks his blood. And then he starts approaching one sleeper that ends up being Beowulf, who reaches out from the darkness, and essentially the moment that happens, they begin wrestling. So the big thing to do with that is the book describes how Grendel immediately knows that he is done for the moment Beowulf starts wrestling with him. So we have, of course, the big fight scene. Beowulf is grabbing him, his grip's kind of crushing Grendel's wrist. The book then describes how Grendel is impervious to weapons, but Beowulf's buddies, the Geats, start trying to help anyways. They swing their sword at him, which distracts Grendel long enough for Beowulf to get a slug in. Then describes how Beowulf rips Grendel's arm off, and becomes victorious in the end. So, it's a very basic myth, and a lot of things that people don't realize is that a lot of our superheroes and just kind of a culture of what a classical hero is very based in this. So that's what I really tried to capture, and I thought that the comic book was kind of ideal form, as Beowulf had a heavy influence on development of characters such as these. All right, thank you.
All right. Can you all hear me? Okay. So my name is Jessica Rayome, and for my capstone project, I did a branding project for a restaurant. So for this presentation, I'm going to run through my concept and my audience, and then the brand, menu design, package, web design, and other branded materials. So for my concept, I wanted to work with like a local small business. So I worked with a manager at Angio's Italian restaurant to create a rebrand concept. The project goal was to create a brand concept that was, quote, witty, whimsical, fun, unique, and different. And the audience goal was to focus on attracting a younger audience because they just moved to a new area of town, which I'll get into that in a minute. And then the personal goal was to challenge myself to do more illustration work because I was starting an illustration course this semester. And the audience. So the current audience of Angio's is the baby boomer generation. So that's those born between 46 and 64, so about ages 57 to 75. And they've been a really loyal customer base from their old location in Buchel. And they were there for about 30 years and just moved to Blankenbaker Parkway, so like J-Town, Middletown area. So because of this new location, they wanted to attract young millennials and like older Gen Z. So that's people born between like 86, 2001, so ages 20 to 35. And these would be their new customers. So to focus on that, I created some design personas to keep in mind who I was designing for throughout this process. So on the left here, we have Thomas. He's in his mid-20s. He's a retail manager, like sports, rock climbing. He's into like blues, rock music, probably drives a Ford Focus. Then we've got Anna and James here in the middle. They are in their early 30s. One's a designer, one's a photographer. They're into hiking, food blogging, folk music, southern rock, and probably drives a Subaru Outback. And then Noah is in his late 30s, and he is a teacher. He likes hunting, fishing, probably listens to Grateful Dead, rock music, and jazz music, and drives a Ford F-150. And so the competition. Angio's is more like a mom and pop type shop, so those large chains like Papa John's and Domino's aren't their direct competition, but places like Impellizzeri's and Jet's Pizza are also on Blankenbaker, pretty close to their location. And then Beer Nose Pizza is pretty close on Taylorsville Road, not too far away. And this is their current branding, so their current logo and landing page of their website. And then the current menu that I took inspiration on this original layout for my menu design. And then how I got started with it. So I started researching and sketching, and my initial plan was to do like a pop art style because that fit with like the witty and whimsical vibe. And I did a lot of research on menu design, restaurant branding, finding a target audience, and effective logo design. So I did a lot of sketches and more sketches. And this is what I originally came up with to fit that pop art style, but I didn't really feel like it would attract the target audience we were going for. So we went back to the drawing board and did some more sketches and a few more sketches, and we landed on the new Angio's. And so this has hand-lettered type, stylized line art, and unique murals that fit with the vibe we were going for. So this is the new logo and the fresh and modern color palette, and you can see the logo in those different colors there as well. And then this is one of the illustrated murals to be used throughout the restaurant and any branding materials. And I've got another one here that has a lot of pizza toppings, and then another one that has different menu items as well. And that leads me into my menu design. So I used Procreate, Photoshop, and InDesign to create these menus. We've got one 11 by 17 menu. The front is just the regular menu items, and the back has the pizza. And then the smaller menu is the lunch specials that would be handed out with that same menu, so it doesn't need all of the descriptions. And then 2 kids menus right there. So here on the left is the full thing, and the yellow block is what's zoomed in on the right, so you can see where we're at. It just goes through the typical menu items, the description, prices. Then as you scroll down, we've got the rest of the menu and then the sides and beverages. And then the back side is focused just on the pizza menu and in that grid style, so it's easy to read and everything like that. And then the toppings and sauces at the bottom. Then going to the lunch menu, like I said, didn't really need all the descriptions because that'd be a little redundant having that twice. So this is just the smaller sizes and the prices for that. And then the kids menu featuring the mural design that I did to create more of like a coloring sheet with tic-tac-toe as well. And then another one of those murals, tic-tac-toe, a little build your own pizza activity and a word scramble. And then for the package design, I used Procreate, Illustrator, and Photoshop. I first created a die line in Illustrator and then started messing with some textures to see how that might look. And I created 2 different designs, just using what I had, those illustrations I made to see what might look the best on the package. And I actually landed on the one on the right here, and so that is what the new boxes would look like. And then going into the web design, so I used Procreate, Photoshop, and I designed the website in Adobe XD. And right now I have images from Pexels. And so this is what the landing page looks like on a laptop, tablet, and mobile device. And here I'll do a little walkthrough of it for you. So on the landing page, we have the navigation at the top with the logo, and then online ordering, they currently use a third-party POS system called Toast Tab, so that wasn't really necessary to redesign. We've got menu, about, and contact. And we scroll down and see there are 4 different ways to get an order from Angio's. So dine-in, curbside, carry-out, and delivery. And then scrolling down, you see a little bit about who they are and a little focus on catering. And then at the bottom there's a nice 5-star review that came from Google Reviews. And then moving on to the About page, we see a little bit of their information. So where they're located, hours of operation, phone number. And then we scroll down and see upcoming events that they're having, and then a social media feed. So either their social media or photos that they have been tagged in to bring in that community aspect in the new area of town. And then at the bottom, we see more about who they are. And then another nice little review here at the bottom. And then moving on to the menu. So there are 4 different ways you can actually place an order with Angio's. So either by phone, in person, online, or if you're outside of their delivery range, they also do Grubhub. And on the website, there are 2 different ways to check out the menu. So one would be to view a PDF version of the actual menu, because I know some people really like to have those printed out at home, so it's easy to just call in your order. Or you can just stay on that menu tab and scroll through the website and see the menu, because that's a little easier to view on your desktop or mobile devices. And then here at the bottom, there is a separate menu for catering. So I created a separate page just about catering so you can read what that's about, how it works, and how to contact them or order your catering order online. And then we have the full catering menu there. And then a nice 5-star review from Google Reviews about how their catering works. Then if you go to their contact page, you can scroll down and there is a contact form that you can fill out that will send them an email or the information about how to call them or where they're located and hours, so you can go in and speak to them. And then at the bottom, you can either click on the logos at the bottom or go back to the navigation bar to click back home. Okay, and so I'm going to go into other branded materials, and I used Procreate and Photoshop to make these. So first I have two different gift card designs. One is the same as the package design, and another is more similar to the kids menu. And then next I made some stickers because with the target audience, I know me personally, I like to decorate my water bottle in stickers or my laptop, whatever. So this would be a good way to get their name out into the community. And then finally, the uniform shirt. So working in a restaurant, I've worked in a restaurant for the last 4 years, and having a dark t-shirt while you're working in the kitchen is definitely a plus. So we have the dark blue from the brand colors there with the mural on the back. And then a lighter orange version to maybe use at like events or when you're out catering. So that way you're easily recognizable by the people you are helping out. And then another version of the blue there. And then for future developments with the project, we would like to work more on their social media and get their Instagram up and running a little better, since that is the main social media platform for the target audience. Work on some ad campaigns or social media campaigns, and then to create table tents, posters, and other marketing materials to use within the restaurant. More diverse to-go packaging, see what the bag might look like, other boxes for other menu items, and then to work on the interior to make it a whole experience that works cohesively. And that is it. Thank you.
All of our students for just one more kind of round of applause, and also to answer questions if anybody has any. So, come on up, big seniors. Again, I have just been having a great time with these folks. They have been productive, inquisitive, collegial with each other, creative, and just wonderful people to work with. So yes. And free, congratulations. So yeah, so thanks for coming out. Grab some food if there's still some out there. Take some food home with you, and we'll be seeing some of you guys, a bunch of you guys at graduation in about a week, right? Week and a half. So congratulations. Wonderful semester.